Hello everyone. Today, I'm going to talk about Benjamin Netanyahu, who is President of Israel. Let's start the video.
Today I'm going to make an unprecedented offer to Iran. It relates to water. The Iranian people are victims of a cruel and tyrannical regime that denies them vital water.
Benjamin Netanyahu is an Israeli politician who has been Prime Minister of Israel since 2009, having previously held the position from 1996 to 1999. Netanyahu is also the chairman of the Likud, National Liberal Movement. He is the longest-serving prime minister in Israeli history and the first to be born in Israel after the establishment of the state. Born in Tel Aviv to secular Jewish parents, Netanyahu was raised in both Jerusalem and the Philadelphia area of Pennsylvania, United States. He returned to Israel immediately upon graduating high school in 1967 to join the Israel Defense Forces shortly after the Six-Day War. Netanyahu became a team leader in the Sayeret Matkal Special Forces Unit and took part in many missions, including Operation Inferno, 1968, Operation Gift, 1968, and Operation Isotope 1972, during which he was shot in the shoulder. Netanyahu fought on the front lines in the War of Attrition and the Yom Kippur War in 1973, taking part in Special Forces raids along the Suez Canal and then leading a commando assault deep into Syrian territory.
Now Israel also has water challenges. We've developed cutting-edge technologies to address them. Israel recycles nearly 90% of its waste.
Netanyahu returned to the leadership of Likud in December 2005 after Sharon stepped to form a new party, Kadima. Although Likud finished second in the 2009 election to Kadima, Netanyahu was able to form a coalition government with other right-wing parties and was sworn in as prime minister for a second time, 12, 13, 14. He went on to lead Likud to victory in the 2013 and 2015 elections. After the April 2019 election resulted in no party being able to form a government, a second election took place in September 2019. In that election, the centrist Blue and White Party emerged slightly ahead of Netanyahu's Likud. However, neither Netanyahu nor Benny Gantz of the Blue and White Party was able to form a government, and Gantz returned the mandate to the president. Since December 2016, Netanyahu has been under investigation for corruption by Israeli police and prosecutors. On November 21, 2019, he was indicted on charges of breach of trust, bribery and fraud. Due to the indictment, Netanyahu is legally required to relinquish all of his ministry posts other than the prime minister position.
People of Iran are good and decent. They shouldn't have to face such a cruel regime alone. We are with you. We will help so that millions of Iranians don't have to suffer. The hatred of Iran's regime will not stop the respect and the friendship between our two peoples.
Netanyahu's big win means his party is in real trouble. After weeks of bad news, Thursday was a very good night for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who faced the first serious challenge to his leadership of the Likud party since 2005. At the end of a tense, stormy primary day, in which Netanyahu's side emitted text messages with invented commandments, "Thou shalt not betray," and supporters of his opponent, Gideon Sa'ar, cried foul over electoral misbehavior, Netanyahu won, convincingly. The final result was 72.5% for Netanyahu and 27.5% for Sa'ar, a former minister who ran on a nationalist agenda a notch harsher than Netanyahu's and argued for a return to civility and decency in politics. The only way to guarantee the continuation of the right wing's monopoly over the Israeli government was for new leadership to take over in the Likud, Sa'ar said. Netanyahu failed to win a majority of votes in two successive elections held this year, in April and in September, and has presided over the Israeli government as an interim prime minister, with limited powers, for a full year. A ruthless political operator, Netanyahu has never nurtured successors. Most of the men who have served him, including former Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman and former Education Minister Naftali Bennett, found themselves out of the Likud when their popularity began to threaten Netanyahu. Sar is the only prominent Likud figure with the courage to state out loud what the Israeli public already knows: there is no path for Netanyahu to form a new government after the national elections on March 2, 2020. In fact, the exuberance at this victory among the party faithful could fade as early as Sunday, when Avishai Mandelblit, the Israeli Attorney General, has been forced to produce his opinion on a legal conundrum never before seen here.
Rain or shine, and right now it's just rain. I'll always be here for you, and it's a pleasure for me on Christmas Eve to be here, standing in Jerusalem. It's right behind me, the holy city. I'm very proud to be the Prime Minister of Israel, a country that says Merry Christmas first to its Christian citizens and to our Christian friends around the world.
In November, Mandelblit announced a raft of corruption charges against Netanyahu, including bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. In order to protect the legally elected head of government from frivolous legal challenges, an Israeli basic law, a constitutional act, allows an indicted prime minister to serve out his or her term in office even while facing trial. But another law legislated by the Knesset, Israel's parliament, does not allow any indicted person to be appointed to high office. Neither of these laws has ever been tested. Israel's Supreme Court, which is grappling with several petitions claiming Netanyahu cannot legally remain in office, has compelled Mandelblit to present his decision on Netanyahu's ability to continue in office, a sort of forced amici curiae, by Sunday. In the coming months, the court will rule on Netanyahu's fitness for office as a candidate under a criminal indictment. Blue and White, the Likud's opposition in the general election, which bested Netanyahu's party in September, is led by the centrist former army chief, Benny Gantz, who ran on clean government platform. Throughout the failed coalition talks, he said his party hoped to form a broad national unity government with the Likud, but would not serve with an indicted criminal. Sar, during the primary, claimed that Gantz would win the March vote if the Likud was not able to renew its leadership, offering a new coalition government, and that Netanyahu's stubborn hold on power would bring death altering. Knowing he faced serious charges, Netanyahu has been scrambling to evade judgment. The law allows him to remain in office, but not to evade trial. During the last year, Netanyahu has tried to pass a personal immunity law through the Knesset and created an even greater public uproar, tried to pass a law that would override Supreme Court decisions. But having failed, he will now run a scorched earth campaign aimed at a single target: a large enough parliamentary majority to pass an immunity law. Before the primary results were even announced, Netanyahu confidant Miki Zohar, a rambunctious Knesset member for the Likud, said Netanyahu got the answer about whether he should ask for immunity, but Netanyahu's big night may result in very bad news for his party, the Likud, who will be running an indicted candidate who's twice lost and wants only one thing: legal immunity.
I'm going to take next year in Christmas, for those of you who come to Israel, I'm going to take and guide you through. In fact, I'll be your guide on this country. And think of all the places you can walk. You can go to the Jesus boat in the Sea of Galilee. You can get to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre right behind me. Any places that you want to visit in the footsteps of Jesus and the origin of our Judeo-Christian heritage. So please come to Israel next year in Jerusalem, and Merry Christmas to all of you.
Israelis are generally indulgent about Netanyahu's various offenses and peccadillos, but deeply oppose parliamentary immunity, and Gantz accuses him of seeking only an immunity government, not a real governing coalition, and of holding the nation hostage to his legal imbroglios. In May, when Netanyahu presented the initial bills, 62% of the Israel public opposed immunity for Netanyahu. Recent polls show that figure now above 70% from voters across the political spectrum. Netanyahu has until January 1st to request immunity against the criminal charges, but would need a majority of members to support it. And, For now, he hasn't got it. The primary victory is expected to embolden him to demand parliamentary support from the entire right-wing bloc. If Netanyahu does not succeed whipping a majority of Israel's 120 lawmakers to support immunity, he will be put on trial in Jerusalem immediately after the next government is formed.
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget subscribe my channel and like the video. Take care.